Howdy y'all, I am Ice Cold, and today I wanted to sort of present to y'all I guess, fan-made update that I made, because I got to thinking about it, as, you know, a more hardcore PvP player type thing, and I thought about it, and there are a lot of really good spell concepts that just never made it into our spell books, and these, I basically created 7 new spells, one for each school, that would like be a useful tool for that school to use, and I guess we'll really just have to see what I've got cooked up, but 5 of these 7 are the same general concept, but you know, I did the math on them. I made sure that they were mostly balanced, although of course that is up to y'all, and of course that can be tweaked, but the general idea, the general concept is what I want to be presenting today. So with that in mind, like I said, 5 out of 7 are going to be the same, so let me go ahead and start with the balance school, because this is one that will not be the same. And for this one, and okay, important thing before I really get started. These are all based on bosses in Arc 1. 6 of the 7 are from Mushu. I didn't really intend for that to happen at the start of all this, but that's how it happened. But yeah, it's basically like they're Arc 1 boss themed spells. And my idea for it is whenever you would beat these bosses after the update is out, if it were to happen, that sort of thing, then you would learn the spell. The boss would be like, oh, okay, you know, you did good. Here's a spell to summon me if you ever need my help or something like that. So that's the main thing that I've got about it. And for the balance spell, I hereby present to you Clockwork Spider. And this is a card that has existed in the game. I don't know if I have any on hand necessarily. Does not look like I do, but the existing Clockwork Spider is a 4-pip hit and power play, and this card has existed for a long time, but it's never really been useful. So this new version of Clockwork Spider that I've got here is like your usual hit and bubble, and Balance of course already has a hit and bubble in the form of Gaze of Fate, but you know, it's 5 pips, it costs a shad, yeah, it's not the greatest cards, so having Clockwork Spider in would be just sort of something to finally even it out, and give Balance a 4-pip, non-shad, hit and bubble. Not that they need it right now, I'm gonna be real, but it's a hole in Balance's library that this would fix, and you would get this spell after defeating Clanker and Marleybone, and that's... Of course, you could like farm all of these spell elements from Arc 1 bosses, that sort of deal, and they would just sort of get added in to the existing farms, you know, like Boris Blackrock, Zarathax, Vossic Ashweaver, that sort of deal. So it's like that would be where you would get these spell elements to upgrade the spells, because these are just these concepts, like the base versions of them. So that's what I'm getting at with that. So Clockwork Spider. That is the balance one that I've got cooked up. Again, you have to be Clanker for it, and that would be the concept for balance. So it would finally give the balance school a 4-pip hit and bubble, and I think that would be kind of nice. Just so the fire spell that I've got in mind is Cotto, and Cotto is a treasure card that at the moment costs 5 pips, but of course I don't have that. Sick. But yeah, it costs 5 pips, and it's the treasure card at least is 5 pips, but the concept idea that I have for this one, and of course you would get this after defeating Cotto in Mushu. This is a storyline boss, as was Clanker. So you know, you would beat Cotto, you would learn this spell, and this is something that I'm not sure is real healthy to add, and the life spell is in the same general vein as this, but it's a 6-pip hit that gambits 2 dots if you have 2 dots for more damage. and it's almost double the damage because I use the same math as the Scion of Fire spellment type deal, and that's kind of just what I got. Dots in general are overvalued, and if the value on those dots ever comes down, and rightfully so, then the spell would see a nerf as well. But that's mostly just what I'm getting at with it. It's a hit, and if you have 2 dots, it gambits them for 1,245 base damage, and I think it could be an interesting little card to have. You know, Fire has cards like Krampus in their arsenal. You know, it's a cheap 4-pip hit and double dot, so you could technically get to, like, I don't know, 8 pips and then send this and threaten it. Which is why I'm a little iffy on it. I don't know if it's a good thing to add. I just did it because I needed a fire spell to put in this, and I didn't want to make a 4-pip hit and bubble because Heffy is kind of just right there. So, you know. That being said, you know, Cotto, this general concept, it could be interesting, but I don't know if I want to pull the trigger, and let me know in the comments if y'all think this is a good idea, because while I personally might not, because dots are already insane, and gambiting them for this much damage on a 6-pip spell is kind of nuts, it could shake up the meta a little bit, and I guess we'll have to see how that goes, but that's the fire spell. Well, I'll say this much, the ice spell and its concept was the initial inspiration for this video to be made. This is an exact copy of Cryo-Croc. This is my concept for Tamuji, which of course you would get after defeating Tamuji in the Ancient Burial Grounds along the storyline, in Mushu of course. And this would essentially be a good replacement for Winter Moon when it inevitably gets banned, because it is. And it's probably going to happen in the fall update. That's my guess as to when they're going to do it. But if this version of Tamuji were to get added, then I think that could at least not leave too big of a hole in Ice's library. We still need like a solid 6-pip hit to lean on, and a spell like this version of Tamuji could absolutely be that. And I think it's a good idea. You know, this did exist somewhat in some fashion back before. The original Colossus spellament from summer 22 to fall of 22, when Novus came out, did this kind of. It would gambit, I think, 1 shield for 210 damage or something crazy like that, but this would gambit up to 3 shields for 95 damage on each shield, so about 285 extra damage, which would be pretty good, and it would require some setup, and I think it would be a good thing to add to the game, and I think Ice could really stand to benefit from having a card like this. It's probably the school that could stand to benefit the most from having a card like this, if I'm honest. So, you know, it's basically like Ice's Monster Mash. That's kind of just what I'm getting at with this Tamuji concept. So Daga is the next one up. This is, of course, a boss that I think you fight as early as Hametsu Village in Mushu, so this one would be probably the first out of any of the Mushu spells that any school can get. But basically, it's kind of a copy of Kraken's Decree, which is from the Weaving Polymorph for Storm, and Kraken's Decree I always thought was kind of ass. It only gave like an extra 85 damage or something for having 3 blades, but with this I increased that to 100 per blade, gambited of course, and this I don't think would be too strong of a spell, but it would be something for Storm to have, just to like use their main effect to their advantage a little better, and I think it would be okay. I would like to see this get added, and I even think 100 damage, 100 extra damage per blade gambited is too little, and I think that if Storms were to get a card like this, of course Storms already got quite an expansive library at around that pip range. You know, they got Catalan as a hidden debuff, they got Catch as a hidden double buff, you know, but if they had something like this and they just had like a good hit that did pretty solid damage, but could gambit extra blades on themselves, extra acceleration, then I think that it could be a neat little surprise pressure tool for Storms to have. They could use, we could see Storms using more dual blades, more tri-blades as well, and just more things that Storm could use revolving around blades, being, of course, their main effect on the Rochambeau wheel. That is, it would sort of cement their identity, is mostly what I'm getting at with this spell. And this one, I will say, for the 5 spells that I've come up with that do this same general thing, 4 of them, and of course the ice one is the one that, is the exception here, but 4 of them, I'm not sure if they're great ideas, because Storm, and as you'll see in a moment, Myth, they might not be the best spells, they might not see a lot of use, but Fire and Life could be a little overpowered, but that's why I'm asking y'all in the comments if y'all like these, and if y'all might want to see these added, might want to see them, tuned a bit, to be less strong, that sort of thing, because I know that, Dots and Hots, of course, are kind of crazy with it right now, but with that in mind, Daga, that's going to be the Storm spell. It's good damage, and Gambit's blades for more of that. So, can't really go wrong, in my opinion. For the Myth School, I have kind of an upgraded version of their Weaving Polymorph spell, Rat Trap, and this basically Gambit's extra traps, not even extra traps, it's just Gambit's traps on your opponent for extra damage. And again, I put it as 100. I think that's a good place to leave it, especially given its base damage. But I do think that, we could definitely see myths make use of this, if a myth were to use something like a spirit trap or some type of deal like that, they could have the option to either use the myth trap or, gambit all of them, or even use the myth trap and gambit 2 of the 3 traps, because, you could still get 200 extra damage by doing that. And again, this would make Myth lean more into traps, and that's generally the idea. I do think that Myth could really use some better trap cards, because right now, and people have pointed this out, the first card that Myth gets that gambits traps in some sort of way is Medusa. At level 58 and 8 pips, the first Myth spell to gambit traps in any form or fashion is Medusa. So, if this were to get added to Arc 1, then I think that Myth could, get some more use out of their traps. That's the main thing that I'm going for with it. And I do think that, if Myth had a card like this, I could see it getting some use. Ninja Pigs is rumored to be getting banned alongside Winter Moon in the fall update, so this could also be kind of an okay replacement. Not nearly as good as Tamuji would be in this hypothetical, but it would be something, and, kind of just up to the Myth School players on what they want to do with that. But I think it's an okay idea. I think it ticks a box, and I think that's something that helps the school, ultimately. So that's my take on it. Just, it's something for Myth to have, and something for them to use if they want to. Now, dear viewer, I did not forget to mention that this spell would be acquired by fighting Yakedo in the Crimson Fields. Now, Yakedo is a secret boss, but, it's... people know how to spawn him, and I guess it wouldn't be apparent, but I also don't really have any better ideas as to who could drop this, because Yakedo is like the boss of the Atomo, and this card it's going to have the same animation as Atomo Fury is my idea for it. So, having it be Yakedo makes the most sense, even if he is like a secret and harder boss, but it's just a thought. if y'all have a better idea for that, definitely leave them down in the comments below. Speaking of these concept spells dropping from secret bosses, I present to you Yukai, and this, up till now, has only been obtainable through like a treasure card exploit way back in the day, so being able to have this different imp animation I think would be pretty cool, and it would... It's another one of those that I'm a little skeptical about, but less so than the dot version that Fire gets, because Yakedo here, not Yakedo, that's the myth spell, Yukai, right? Yukai would gambit 2 heals for more damage. And again, this is one of those cases where it's like heals are valued pretty highly right now, and I'm not 100% sure if it's that great of an idea to add a spell that gambits heals for only 6 pips, but you don't really see Pigsy getting used all that much, and that's kind of my rationale for it. I think that if Life Wizards really wanted to, and if Fire Wizards really wanted to, they could use their respective rank 2 school pip spells that create 2 of their effects, and, you know, sort of create a strat from there if they wanted to, but I don't know. Krampus and Pigsy are kind of out of the meta right now, so I think if these 2 cards were to get added, it wouldn't break things too much. I don't think. I would hope not, but that's the general idea. It's like Gambit, 2 heals for, you know, a lot of extra damage. And it is close to double the extra damage, and of course I did, again, use the same math as Scion of Life, where, you know, it'll do pretty solid damage, and then on the Gambit for the heals, it'll do pretty close to double. I do think that since these spells, and not spells, but rather hanging effects being damage over time and heals over time, I think they're overtuned, and I think they both would need to see a nerf before cards like these could enter the meta in a healthy state, but that's just my take on it. Yeah, definitely leave a comment below if you think this is a good idea. I also didn't really have any better ideas than Yukai. I mean, the only better idea that you could have is Woodwalker, which is already a 6-pip card, which, you know, convenient, but it's... If I have any, and I don't, of course, because I never have any of these TCs, but Woodwalker would have to drop from, like, Oakheart, which is at the very end of a long side quest. I mean, I guess technically you could have it drop from the Crazed Forest Spirit in the Ancient Burial Grounds, which you do revisit as part of the Wizard Tours quest late in Dragonspire, as well as a side quest earlier on in Mushu. But, I don't know. I just have Yukai here because, you know, funny, different looking imp spell. that's kind of what I'm on about. But yeah, just sort of having this card in the game, I think it could be neat after heals over time get nerfed, just sort of as a whole in general. So that's my take on the Yukai spell concept idea. Lastly, we arrive at the Death School, and I will start this off by saying that Death already has a spell that's exactly like these 5 others, and that is, of course, Monster Mash. This card is obviously a godsend. I mean, it does mass, and it gambits up to 3 curses on the opponent, or on the target, rather, for 130 extra death damage per curse, and that also inspired a lot of these spells. So, because Death already has the concept that I've talked about so much in this video already, I was thinking of an alternative to a card like Skeletal Pirate, and I present to you Diseased Spirit. This would be obtained from fighting Wavebringer in Shirataki Temple in Mushu, and this card, as you can see, would function, it would have the same damage as Skeletal Pirate, at the tier 2 version, of course, and it would basically be like a hit and double contagion, and this like I mentioned in yesterday's video, the heal cap is coming in presumably the fall, and this, if that flops and is like a redundant update where it, you know, doesn't really nerf healing all that much, then I think having a card like this could at least offset that. Disease Spirit only to this point exists as a treasure card from the Shaman's Horde pack, and I think that it could be a good addition to the game. I think that, you know, adding this as a heal counter with, you know, it's like you clear their heals. Wow, I can speak English. You clear up to 2 heals on the target, and then you prevent them from healing for nearly as much immediately afterward. And this is a concept that the game is lacking. Right now, the only spell of that kind is Dr. Von's Monster. And as you can see, the Disease Spirit concept that I've got is basically this exact same thing, except it is a bit stronger, and the reason for that is, you know, Dr. Von's Monster was added in the spring of 24 before they tweaked Contagion to clear for, or maybe I'm tripping about that, but clearing a heal for 2 minus 65 heal or infections, and that is kind of what I'm getting at. It's like Von's concept is good, but it could be stronger, and the less healing that's in the game, the better. Let's be honest. So, Dr. Von's Monster, it's a good concept, and I think sort of applying that to this 5-pip spell could be a much better way to counter heals, that sort of deal. So, I think that is just the way to go, in my opinion. I think that's just because right now heal counters just aren't really that good. It's like let's go over all of them. They're in the Death School and the Storm School. So Skeletal Pirate is the first one. It's the first heal clear, and then Triton in the Storm School is the second one. Okay, let me briefly explain just before I get too ahead of myself. But this will clear up to 2 heals for a 50 shield on yourself. So, like a tower shield per heal cleared, which, you know, it's good that you're clearing heals and doing some damage, but you're not deterring another heal straight out the gate. And that's sort of where this Disease Spirit concept comes in. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm getting at. And then Triton is the next one, and this does provide deterrence, but only if you're a Storm using it, because it gives a 60 blade for each heal you counter, up to 2, which is really, really strong. It's insanely strong, but it only applies to storms, and it's a storm blade that it gives you. And it used to be chromatic, but that got changed, so for some ungodly reason. And so this, it doesn't really provide good deterrence to the 6 other schools that could be using it. And yeah, so the next one on the list is Storm King Artorias. This is heals to heals. It's probably the worst in terms of like an idea of a heal counter, but it is one of the better heal counters that exists because it clears 3, and it also, for fires specifically, it can set up a heal gambit with Infernal Oni or Rain of Fire, that sort of thing, so it can be useful, but, you know, not insanely great. And then there's Anubis, which the Death School gets. This is a triple clear for 7 pips, which is nice, but the aura can just be braced over, and again, not great deterrence. So the last one, of course, is Dr. Von, and it is the only one of its kind that stops the Life Wizard from healing again immediately afterward. I think we need more of that, and that is where Disease Spirit comes in. And I think that would be a good place to end this video. So, yeah, these are 7 new spell concepts that I have come up with. Of course, they're not coming into the game. These are just ideas, concepts, that sort of thing. But they could come to the game if the devs like the idea. And I hope they do, because we really, really could use some of these cards, especially for like Ice, Death, and Balance. So yeah, that's mostly what I'm getting at. And also, the whole reason why I'm making new spells at all is because things like Disease Spirit could fit so nicely onto a card like Lord of Night, but the devs have this weird rule where you like they won't put any clears or gambits on lore spells, which I think is stupid, but you know, this whole video idea sort of falls under those rules, so I don't know. They kind of don't really have an excuse if they add these spells and then don't make them all this useful. So that is going to wrap up. So thank y'all for watching. I've been Ice Gold. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave like 50 comments for the algorithm. My Discord is down in the description if you'll want to chat with me some more, and I will see y'all later.